Up from the ashes grow the roses of success. Hello, today I have a question for you. How good are the ashes of the Empire leaders in Twin Suns? I don't know. Neither do you. Neither does basically anybody who doesn't work for FFG, but that's not going to stop me from guessing. Let's get speculative. I've seen a lot of opinions around as to how good the Ashes leaders are in Limited, Premier, etc., but I haven't seen much chatter for Twin Suns. We're going to change that. Let's look at all 18 characters from a multiplayer perspective. I'm even going to put them all in a tier list as we go because this is YouTube. I understand how the game is played, but my tiers are going to be wholly subjective and vibes based because I haven't really gotten to test hardly anything. I've played some Premiere with these goobers, but not Twin Suns yet. So I'm very excited. What does that mean? That means that this is our tier list. These are our tiers. Lamau, so this is ridiculously impactful. It's format altering, powerful, seriously game warping. Does not necessarily mean the leader is broken, just means that their impact is the biggest imaginable. Hype to brew for, this is going to be a really fun Twin Suns leader, buildable in several viable directions or a few very interesting ones. Then we have I Want to Believe. I'm skeptical, but optimistic. Whether that's actually deserved is an entirely different conversation. You're going to see some of my choices here are a little bit dubious. Not feeling it. See the above, but pessimistic. They might be good, you might like them, I do not vibe with it. That's just not for me. And then lastly, between my bike spokes, this card would be better used to make the funny clicky noise. I want it to sound loud and annoying. That is a better use of this cardboard than putting them in my Twin Suns deck. Twin Suns is not a sweaty format. I know that. You could do whatever you want and probably have a chance of succeeding over there, but anybody in this tier, you need a really good reason to try to do that, and I just cannot find one. Alright, that's the entire preamble. Let's do this thing. This is the Armorer. Steel shapes us. She's Mandalorian, that's her only tag. Action, exhaust, play an upgrade from your resources on a unit that entered play this phase, paying its cost. If you do, resource the top card of your deck. Blue-green, by the way, one of those newfangled, doesn't have hero or villain alignment units. Flips on a 5, becomes a 4/6. When attack ends, you may play an upgrade from your resource on a friendly unit. Notably, loses the entered play this phase clause. That's actually important. If you do, resource the top card of your deck. Yeah. So otherwise pretty similar, but just a slightly better version. So the two color leaders are particularly spicy includes in Twin Suns because they up your icon count from the typical 3 plus hero or villain, assuming you pair them with a hero or villain that is an Anakin or Revan. That sort of goes without saying, but I really like Revan, so yeah, that's a bit of a downer for your boy. Saw and Beckett both require pretty specific game plans. Armorer not so much beyond playing enough upgrades that she does something. So the question is, can an 80 card singleton deck make an upgrade centric plan function reliably? My greater concern isn't whether you can find enough upgrades worth playing. That's not hard. There's tons. It's not breaking your draws too often, because for a while you're going to need to be able to play a unit, then pay for the upgrade. And that's not easy to do. It's actually surprisingly difficult to do. Even if you're playing 3X's of your stuff in a Premier deck, that's pretty hard. Doing it in Twin Suns, hey. However, blue and green is just a really solid color combo to have. You can just have that now for one of your leaders. And I 100% believe that a deck could resource all of its upgrades and play pretty vanilla and still get value out of Armorer. I'm not like incredibly enthused by the prospects of running Armorer, but I do want to believe. I think she has like genuine potential. The value of bringing blue green and doing the upgrade party trick is like not small. There's really neat stuff there. She's not my favorite, but I do like what she kind of like brings to the table. More so than trying to play Saw or Beckett in Twin Suns. Or like Beckett is entirely a build around. Saw is also mostly that. Armorer being less so is pretty cool. Next is Fennec Shand, ready for war. Underworld, red yellow. I'm going to do the colors at the top this time. So again, this is our other two color, no alignment character. Action, pay 1, exhaust her, and then exhaust a friendly unit. So 3 different costs you have to pay. Play a unit from your hand, paying its cost, it enters ready. Ooh, buddy. And then you epic action to flip her on 4, where she deploys as a 3/4 Saboteur. Action, pay 1, exhaust a friendly unit, but you don't have to exhaust her anymore, so it's not as limited. Play a unit from your hand. It enters play ready. I can't unsee that hat as Devo for some reason. I don't know why. I just it doesn't even look that pointy, but for some reason it just it bugs me. I don't know why. Anyway, See everything I just said about armor, except now it's just, hey, kid, you want to play aggro? Fennec's ability can close games out in pretty funny ways, and it's easy to add a bit of resource acceleration to set it up. I think dropping a unit for one more and readying it is incredibly powerful, especially in Twin Suns. It's very, very good. Now, the downside is that Fennec's flip is absolute dog water. It's so bad. She flips before almost everyone, but she barely does anything until you can afford to do multiple readies later on. So you're likely to use it later when she's very, very, very weak. This is an awful leader flip. Like, genuinely garbage. If you do manage to flip her late game, which is when you probably have to flip her anyway, and win a game with the Fennec Sabo, I applaud you. That is an incredible achievement. You should be proud. I am gonna put her in hype to brew for because I think her text is just really, really good. I like getting to drop a thing ready for one more in a format where it is not infrequent to, through no fault of your own, get an extra resource due to like group effects and whatever else, or having stuff re-readied through shenanigans or negotiation. That said, like, as you're gonna see, my hype to brew for category will expand a lot more, and Fennec's not gonna be on the high end of it. Balin Skull, Power Beyond Dream. Blue Villain, Force, only tag. Action, pay one, exhaust him, give a friendly unit +2/+2 for this phase if it's the only unit you control in its arena. And then you flip him on 5, he's also a 4/6. On attack, you may give a friendly unit +2/+2 and Sentinel for this phase if it's the only non-leader unit you control in its arena. I barely trust that Balin can get it done with one opponent. Ain't no way you're gonna win a game with a single slightly larger guy that you had to pay extra for each phase. Hell no. This is not gonna do jack in Twin Suns. There's a world in which this helps you hold down your weaker arena, probably space, without just having to slot Sentinels late game. But is that worth a leader slot? I don't think so. If there was another leader who passively buffed solo units, and I mean more than an XP or advantage token, I would change my tune. But that's not a thing, and a low unit count control deck is going to get you justifiably bullied. Your bullies are righteous if you try to get away with this. He doesn't even work with your second leader. It's non-leader. This dude is DOA. There's no way this is gonna work. Get between my bike spokes right now. We're going for a ride. Grand Admiral Thrawn Victory is mine. Another blue villain here. Imperial Official. Action, exhaust him, attack with a unit. It gains Restore 2 for this attack if you control the same number of units as the defending player. Okay. And then if you control 8 or more resources, deploy this leader. Wherein he's a 5/8 with Restore 2 on his own, and then on attack, if you control more units than the defending player, you may defeat a non-leader unit they control. Please stop praying for Papa Smurf. He keeps getting larger each set, and now he has to duck under door frames. I don't know why they just keep making larger Thrawns. Look, 7 flips are already a downside in Twin Suns. Doable, totally doable. You can play the game in such a way that a 7 will happen, barring, like, exceptions, right? But 8 is comically large to the point where you have to assume in your deck building that he might never flip. You just have to build around that possibility, because it's very real. In a total reversal of how I feel about Thrawn in Premier, I actually really like his base side in Twin Suns. You're just that much more likely to match unit count with somebody when there's 3 other enemies to hit. And Restore 2 every round is pretty huge. Like, I really like that. I think that's pretty powerful stuff to be able to do. I don't really see a world in which he becomes like an especially popular Twin Suns later. But there's always an audience for miserable blue villain decks, especially now that they're like really strong. And Thrawn can play a part, however small, in making your meta just a little bit worse. I'm gonna put him in not feeling it because he's not my style, and I'm not a super huge fan of a leader who probably never gets to flip. But like, I mean, he's gonna have an audience. There are people who are gonna build for this. This is like a fun thing to try to do and try to build towards like a big conclusion, draw the game out just a little bit more. And as we're going to see in a little bit, there are leaders in this who actually would pair rather nicely with him that will draw the game out. So he's not my style, but I respect if this is your thing. Luke Skywalker, I Can Save Him. Blue Hero, Force Jedi Rebel. When a friendly unit's attack ends, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, heal 1 damage from that unit. And then he flips on 7 for a 6/7 AO. When a friendly unit's attack ends, heal 2 damage from that unit or from your base. A lot of digital ink has been spilt about this Luke. And you know this is a wild format because you can look at a leader with this text and think, yeah, I guess. Like, this Luke seems bananas in other formats. Here, it's like, I get it. Look, 7 flips are hardly impossible, but they do require more support. And he synergizes really well with like on attack leaders or any ambush centric strat. Blue red, blue green are what I would jump to. I especially like blue green personally. That said, if you do get your flip with a full board, you are immediately going to get dogpiled, and it will be fully deserved, because if they don't deal with this guy immediately, which they do have the means to do, you will probably just win the game outright. This is an obscene amount of healing that outpaces even getting the kill for 5, right? Oh my god, this Luke does a lot. That is a lot to work towards, though. He's a little underwhelming in the setup up until that point, but if you do make it to turn 6 or earlier, depending, and you do make it to that 7 deploy, and you do have a usable board for this, you probably win. That said, that is a lot of ifs, and so I'm putting him in I Want to Believe, which is hilarious, because, like, this dude's text is absolutely cuckoo banana cakes. I just don't know if a table that is like awake and not goofing off is going to let you get away with it. But it's Twin Suns, anything is possible. Sabine Wren, Bargaining on Belief, Blue Hero, Jedi Mandalorian Spectre. Okay. Action Exhaust. An opponent gives 2 advantage tokens to a unit they control. If they do, the next unit you play this phase gains shielded for this phase. Important. Alright. Epic action, if you control 5 or more resources, deploy this leader. I do want to point out, by the way, they gain shielded for this phase. That doesn't mean they lose the token. I have a statement in here that's going to read that way. That is not what I am saying. Alright, they have shielded right now. Okay. And if you control 5 or more resources, deploy this leader. Okay, so it flips on 5 into a 3/5. On attack, the next unit you play this phase gains shielded for this phase. Alright. So speaking of total reversals from Premiere, here's a leader that I actively dislike over there, but think owns in Twin Suns. I love this Sabine in Twin Suns. I think she's great. Now, her flip is awful. Okay, like 3/5 on 5 is bad. That's undeniable. But handing out advanced tokens, or advantage tokens, is an incredible negotiation lever. And shielding up your sentinels is phenomenal. Like, oh my gosh. A leader that gives you a shield and 2 damage that, if you're smart, is probably not going to get dealt to you, it's going to get dealt to someone else, is doing 2 leaders worth of work. This is a ton of Twin Suns value. I love her. Also, Jedi Mando Spectre are some good tags. Like, this builds into a lot of stuff really naturally. You can play her with green, do a bunch of Jedi stuff. Now, you can't do Force with her, and that is important. But you could still build a Force deck with that, build all sorts of stuff. Play her with Mandos, no problem. Spectre, in particular, is the tag that I'm really excited by, because Spectres and Twin Suns are a lot of fun. More on that later. God, I wish you could, like, shield your second deploy, because they have to play it, it's not the deploy. Or that the, like, shields would stick around more in some kind of way, or like you could reproc it somehow. That's kind of what I was trying to get at. But it still does enough as is. You're still getting shields on your units reliably, and you're handing out tokens like candy that you can use for negotiation. Absolutely hyped to build for. I love what this Sabine does in Twin Suns. In any other format, if I'm handing if I'm handing 2 damage to my opponent every turn, I'm miserable. If I'm doing it in Twin Suns, I'm catatonic with joy. I'm euphoric. It's great. Okay, I need a sip of water for Sloane, because there's a lot going on with Sloane. Alright, Grand Admiral Sloane, holding the Empire together, green villain, Imperial official. Action exhaust, choose one. Give each ground unit Sentinel and Overwhelm for this phase. Or give each space unit the same. And then she flips on 5 into a 4/5. Imperial official still. Overwhelm on her own, and then each other friendly unit gains Overwhelm and Sentinel. I'm gonna open by saying, if you know Twin Suns, it's a multiplayer format, you know that Sentinel is like the most important keyword, okay? Because you need to be able to protect your neck. Say hello to the most game-warping Twin Suns leader, and I do not just mean in this set. I legitimately think Sloane has fundamentally changed the format. Sloane exhausts for 0, and the entire board instantly descends into gridlock. It becomes MTG. Like, you're playing Magic for a round every time Sloane does the thing. It's so ridiculous. Needing enough Sentinels is the closest thing to attacks that Twin Sun's deck construction demands, because otherwise Twin Suns is like really fun to build for. You can kind of just freewheel it and play with your toys. Sloane's range of viable units is much wider as a result of her text covering you. You can play fewer Sentinels, because everything is a Sentinel. All of the time. Your opponents don't get to build around that. They have to put Sentinels in their deck, because Sloane might not be at the table. But you know. And so your deck building improves dramatically. Your leader ability is ridiculous to the point where you can hold the table hostage by doing nothing. Or they might legitimately just decide, oh my god, Sloane doesn't go like until third or fourth of this. I have to get my swings in now, and they will make plays that are ridiculous. Now they might point them at you because you're Sloane, but hey, you still fundamentally change the game just by existing. She's less impactful when flipped. She's just kind of advantageous for you, and she's a decent deploy. But you'll need to take the normal ability away eventually because the smart table will come knocking on your door. Like, it's going to happen. They don't want Sloane to keep doing this. Or maybe they do. Maybe they want to play the long game. Maybe they have 7 or 8 deploys, right? Like, maybe they really want to let it ride. And if they do, they might even protect you, which is a really cool idea. Expect games with Sloane to take longer. Like, you have reduced the amount of base damage in the game by way of existing and having an exhaust. You have one of the most powerful negotiation offers in the entire game as to when you decide to do the thing to try to help people. Yeah, she's going in Lamau. This unit's incredible. This leader's incredible. Like, you should absolutely, like, try to build Sloane. I've built, like, 2 Sloane decks in the DB already. I'm going to build more. Sloane is so cool. She's so cool. Alright, moving on. Moff Gideon, Indomitable Warlord, Green Villain, Imperial Official. Action Exhaust. If a friendly Imperial unit was defeated this phase, play a unit from your hand, it costs 1 less. And then you flip on 7. For a 5/8, okay, who gains each of the following keywords if it's on an Imperial unit in your discard pile. Ambush, Grit, Hidden, Overwhelm, Saboteur, Sentinel, Shielded, Surprise. I can't even get through this block of text. There's so many words on this Moff Gideon. This is the ultimate payoff for keyword soup. We're doing it. You play everything with red text on it that says Imperial, search the tag on the DB, put every Imperial card with keywords in it, and just watch him go. You rev him up and rip him like a Beyblade. The missing keywords aren't catastrophic, even though you would like to have Restore, and there's a lot of like Imperial stuff with Restore on it that you just can't really profit from. But Gideon still lets you like BYO bomb, right? Like you can just build your own ridiculous endgame unit. A lot of times your big bombs are in the deck. Gideon says, hey, everything builds up to make just this giant bomb that they have to solve, but they can't use, no leader removal on. And so they're just like forced to swing into him or like play capture stuff or like really annoying removal that's finicky and not super good, and everything you give him just turns him into an absolute juggernaut. Like your deploy, your turn 6 or earlier is just so good. There's enough oomph in Villain Green alone to give you plenty of units to get killed off that do something, but a single Imperial Armored Commando alone makes him a menace. Like, it's so strong. Laddering up more aggressively is surprisingly legit in Twin Suns, and it'll help buy you some time for the 7 flip, because people don't want to punch up. You're going to have to send guys into them to do stuff and to build your discard pile, but like 2+ keywords alone turn Gideon into a problem, and everything after that is just gravy. So despite all good sense, right, I legitimately want to run him with the Twin Sun Precon Mall that cares about keywords, and like probably a blue base, although red could be something, because your turn 6 or sooner is going to be egregious. The things you can do with those two, it beggars belief. They are monstrous. Yeah, I'm putting him in Hype to Brew for. He's a ton of fun, like just staring at all those keywords and going, ooh, we could do this and this and this and this. Like, he's fun. I love this giant payoff that's just looming over the table all the time. Super duper cool. Less cool, Ahsoka Tano, Green Hero, Force Jedi. Action Exhaust. Choose a unit with less power than a friendly unit. It gains 2 power for this phase. Then you flip on 6 for a 5/6 with support so that, you deploy and then you attack with somebody else, right? And then on attack, you may give a unit with less power than this unit 2 power for this phase. I'm going to be real with you. Nothing about this leader sparks joy in my soul. She's just so slow. You play a unit, you wait until next round to swing harder, which has to be signaled to everyone in advance. Now, granted, that's not true when she's flipped, then it's a little bit more active, but then you use it to buff a different guy, or you use it defensively as a trade deterrent, and you hope that you don't lose your buff piece, I guess. Look, I'll admit that I do like the option to hand 2 power to another player for negotiation purposes. Obviously, I like Sabine, but I'd really prefer that not be all one of my leaders does. Uh, I get why she does what she does in the other formats, but unfortunately, in Twin Suns, I'm just not feeling it. She's not for me. I do see a world in which she could be pretty cool. Like, Green Hero is a really good spot to be in, but she's not for me. Maybe for somebody else. There were other Ahsokas I like in Twin Suns, but this is not one. Bo-Katan Christ? I actually don't know how that's said out loud. I've only read that in text. I'm realizing that now. Reclaiming Mandalore. Mandalorian. It's the only trait. You're going to hear me say the word Mandalorian a lot for the foreseeable. Action, pay 2 and exhaust her. If you control a unit in each arena, create a Mando token. And then her epic action I actually have to read because it's really weird. If the number of resources you control plus the number of friendly Mandalorian units is 10 or more, then she gets to flip. So you have, let's say, like 4 Mandos and 6 resources, that's flippable, right? It's awkward. She flips into a 4/7. Other Mandalorian units get +1/+0, so they're all a little bit more spicy. And then on attack, if you control a unit in each arena, you create a Mando token. I know this is making all the Timmies go absolutely nuts. You can see the board state in your mind's eye. I know you can, all right? And I'm really sorry for what I'm about to say. It's not going to work. It's really not. Look, balancing ground and air Mandos is difficult enough as is. You have 3 people that are stopping you from doing it. And then you get the privilege of paying full price for a Mando token to try to set up your leader flip? Why? This is hard enough to set up in a 1v1 scenario, okay? Like, that alone is bad. The moment you present a credible threat that, like, you might actually do the Bo-Katan thing, you might actually live the dream, you are going to have your dreams dashed. The issue isn't that there aren't enough Mando cards, or even good ones. You can actually build really good, like, themed Mandalorian decks. It's not hard to build around that synergy. The problem is this payoff is kind of crap, and you can't play the new Pre Vizsla, who is like the Mandalorian of this set, who is not named the Mandalorian. Okay, like you don't get to do the cool thing. So no, I'm not feeling it. I'm sorry. I know that this is like the Timmy thing. Like, this is incredibly cool. Maybe it's not Timmy. Is it Johnny for combo? Yeah, whatever. I can't keep that straight. Point being, it's a really cool thing that does a gigantic thing when you do it, right? Like, it is neat, but I don't buy it. Somebody will do it, though. Like, I don't doubt that you can, but it's probably not gonna be me. Cad Bane, still faster than you. Red villain, underworld bounty hunter. Action exhaust, deal 1 damage to a unit with 2 or more remaining HP. Flips on 6 into a 4/7, okay, with overwhelm. Huh? And then on attack, you may deal 1 damage to a unit with 2 or more remaining HP. Return of the Mac. Unconditional ping, let's go. Yeah, it can't kill, but it's Twin Suns, who cares? You've got power, you've got negotiation potential, you've got a good color combo. There's literally nothing here you don't want. One of the very first decks that I am playing, I said building, I've already built it. Playing when this set drops is Cad Aura, so I can threaten the on-demand 2-tap and do all the thematic bounty hunter stuff that dreams are made of. This dude rules. I can play a bounty hunter that's not like a Boba or an IG-88 or whatever. Like, hell yeah, of course he's going in hype to Brew 4. I just wish he looked as cool as old Cad Bane. I don't really like the look of this Cad Bane that much, but I can look past it. He's beautiful to me. Moving on. Vain, quarrelsome pirate. Red, villain, underworld. Simple. Simple's gonna be a pattern. Action, exhaust, and defeat a friendly upgrade. Deal 2 damage to a base. Ooh, okay. And then if you control 5 or more resources, you deploy the boy. For 3/6, on attack, you defeat a friendly upgrade. If you do, deal 2 damage to the defending unit or a base. Oh, that's incredibly easily earned base damage. Okay. Yeah, obviously the ideal use case here is advantage tokens, which are replete in ashes. And the deploy allowing you to ping units down is pretty spicy, but you're here for the base damage. Like, that's the whole point. Like, there's really not a ton to Vayne. You play him if you just want to try to bully one particular player and then try to convince everybody else to get in on the dog pile. Base damage, targeted base damage is kind of funky in Twin Suns in the sense that it makes you enemies very easily and you have to be like, no, let's just win, let's just win. And there is more stuff here that slows the game down a bit for the table than there is that speeds it up. So I'm actually going to put him in I Want to Believe, even though I do think his text is pretty good and his flip is pretty good, and like overall he's pretty good. But I don't think he's going to fit super duper well with the things that people want to do in Ash's era Twin Suns. It just doesn't entirely jive in my head. But like his text is objectively pretty good, right? So like I'm fine with it. Ezra Bridger, It's Now or Never, Red, Hero, Force, Jedi, Rebel, Spectre. Boy, that is a lot of tags. When a friendly unit's attack ends, if it dealt 3 or more damage to a base, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, give an advantage token to a different unit. And then he flips on 5 into a 3/6. Same tags. Saba, I don't know why I'm emphasizing that. I don't think there's anybody who like changes. He's got Saboteur. Okay, makes the 3 a little easier to swallow. And then when a friendly unit's attack ends, if it dealt 3 or more combat damage to a base, we give an advantage token to a different unit. Alright. Remember how I praised Sabine's tags? Yeah, he's got, like, all of them. You could put Ezra in pretty much anything, and he's going to bring some amount of value. But not a lot of value, because Ezra's ability being gated by, okay, you gotta slap a base moderately hard is fine. The problem is the payoff of a whole 1 advantage token's a bit limp. You're not really doing a lot, and it goes on somebody else. Like, it's not that great. Despite this, I still kind of like him. He meshes well with a ton of archetypes, and his flip is decently compelling for the Sentinel-heavy format. Also, like, I said this with Sabine, I really like Spectres in Twin Suns. So, like, I'm compelled by Ezra. I do want to believe. I think his text is kind of buns, like, a little bit, but he meshes so well into so many things that, like, I will think about Ezra a fair amount when I am building hero stuff because he has every relevant tag. Like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. The only thing you won't put him in is a rebel deck, and like I'm not even really trying to do that at the moment, so that's fine. It's fine by me. The Mandalorian, we can't keep running. Red, hero, when you take the initiative, being very specific with my words, you may pay 1 if you do draw a card. Also, he's a Mandalorian. Because he's the Mandalorian. I didn't mention it, but come on, he's a Mandalorian. Flips on 6. Support, so again, you deploy him to attack with somebody else. It's the new mechanic from Ashes. Into a 4/6. On attack, you may if you have the initiative, you may draw a card. Boy, I could not get through that card very well. So you need to get favorable turn order or claim early, never get beaten to specifically just the initiative token, not the blast or the plan, and then pay for the privilege. Get in my bike spokes. We're going for a ride. Why I'm not wasting my time with this. There's no way this is good. Like, getting the initiative token specifically in Twin Suns is hard. Getting it every time is just not going to happen. Sorry, Mando. Sorry, Pedro. It's just not. It's not happening, buddy. Emperor Palpatine, according to my design. Yellow villain. Force Imperial Sith official. That is a lot of tags. Action exhaust. Choose an exhausted friendly unit, give an advantage token to it for each friendly unit. Ooh, okay. Then he flips on a 7 and I get disappointed. On attack, you may choose another exhausted friendly unit. If you do, give an advantage token to it for each other friendly unit. Alright. So I only really like this with token spam, battle droids or otherwise. You can make some comically large dinguses. Do you want to make the biggest, goofiest battle droid of all time? Do you want to make a spy that is just incredibly large? Would you like to play him with like Green Vader and just like vomit out ties and then turn the Vader tie or whatever into the single largest battering ram to ever exist? Like, this is a thing you can do. I don't love the guy, but like in a spam deck, it's really funny. The lag time between getting the the advantage and actually using it is annoying, but the lack of an investment needed to get it makes it fairly easy to accept as a downside for playing him. That said, I'm really underwhelmed by his flip. If I'm going to work towards a 7, he's got to do more than this. Like, 4/8, that's doing what he was basically already doing. I'm not into it. I wish I liked him, but he just kind of isn't very interesting or good once he flips. So, like, you get all this value, you can do all this stuff. He does represent a lot of damage. But because he kind of lacks the big payoff of a 7, I'm putting him in not feeling it. Though, I absolutely see a world in which you play him with, like, Grievous or a droid generator of some kind, like maybe Dooku or whatever, like Blue Dooku, the Twin Suns Dooku, or what have you. And then you, like, just keep making dudes and keep turning a dude gigantic and forcing people to trade into you over and over. Like, there's a world in which this is good. It's just, it's not really my style. Shinhati, Eager Adversary. That is a yellow villain. Force. Just force. Only force. Okay. When a friendly unit's attack ends, you may exhaust this later. If you do, exhaust a unit that costs less than the amount of combat damage dealt to a base this attack. If you control 6 or more resources, you deploy into a 4/6. Oh, okay. When a friendly unit's attack ends, you may exhaust a unit that costs less than the amount of combat damage dealt to a base this attack. Use this ability only once per round. Oh, she's aggro. She's mad as hell. Do not underestimate the negotiation potential of hitting somebody's base while offering them free choice of your exhaust target. It is extremely funny. Like, Shin Hati's text is really, really impactful, and so using it as a negotiation lever is very, very strong in a multiplayer game. 4/6 on 6 is basically indefensible. It's not good, but her ability is sufficiently compelling to offset that. That said, she should deploy on 5. Come on. Like, I would accept her deploying with, like, Vayne stats or whatever, but instead she's on a 6, and I just don't understand why they chose that. That really just feels undercooked to me. Whatever. Anyway, don't forget that you do, in fact, need to win the game eventually. Your last round should see you exhausting your actual competition so that you don't get your face beat in while you pummel your actual target. Like, take somebody out, turn off other people's big pieces to the best of your ability, and just be the problem. Like, you need to be everybody's buddy for a bit until you very suddenly aren't. Turn on everyone at the right time. She's pretty compelling on that end. So I'm putting her in hype to brew for, just a little bit above Fennec, because, like, Fennec's thing is like, oh, I have one goofy payoff, but when I get to do it, it's really cool. Shin Hati is just a constant drip feed of, like, fun negotiation, and so I like her quite a bit for that. Grief Karga, Gracious Magistrate, Yellow Hero Official. When you play or create a unit, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, give an advantage token to that unit. Then you flip on a 6 into a 4/7. But you keep doing the exact same thing when you play or create a unit, except it's not capped. You get to just keep doing it. Wait, we can just have advancement for like, I keep saying advancement. I play too much Netrunner. We can keep having advantage tokens, like, for free? Without an action? Maybe Palp needs to go for a bike ride after all. Now, I'm being harsh, but, like, Grief is really good, right? So, Grief seems amazing in Limited and solid in Premier. Here in Twin Suns, he's not mind-blowing because that damage doesn't convert into a win as clearly, as linearly. But never underestimate most of your units coming out juiced. Giving all of your goobers a +1, pretty much, like, with rare exception, is very, very, very good. There's kind of, like, very little else to say about Grief Karga. He's sort of boring, like, there's not a lot to him, but, like, he's objectively good. Just damage good. We like damage, yes? So, yeah, hype to brew for. Not like, oh my god, I can't wait to build Grief Karga, but, like, he's good. Look at him. Like, I read the text on the card, I am impressed. This is a good card. And then lastly, it's Grogu, whose text, Charming Companion, Yellow Hero Force, whose text states, Grogu's default side having a giant blank text box is one of the funniest jokes in all of SWU. I love this leader. Literally, I say this phrase a lot, literally doesn't do anything. My god. But he's got a weird epic action. That's cool, right? So when you play a named unit, a unique unit that costs 4 or more, if this leader's ready, you may deploy him. I don't know why he's not going to be ready. Like, outside of getting returned, it's not like he's busy. Doesn't have anything. Anyway, he deploys as a 0/3. And then while another friendly unit is defending, it gets 1 power. And while a friendly unit is attacking, the defender gets -1 power. Okay. Hear me out on this. This little man is Garbo in every other format. Grogu's not great. But if there's anywhere his gimmick can work, it's Twin Suns. Alright? Forcing everyone to do the Grogu math every time they interact with your sentinels is obnoxious to the point where they legitimately might just leave you alone. Any card that scales with leader units is way easier to stick with this goober, and there's just enough plot cards that you could do silly stuff like Naboo Royal Starship or Trade Route Taxation, although realistically, you should probably just play Secret Marriage and ignore the thematic implications of playing Secret Marriage on the child. don't, don't do that. Please. Okay, I'm just gonna move on. Look, if there was ever a poster child for I Want to Believe, it's Grogu. I'm putting him at the top of it. I don't have a lot of faith in Grogu, but you are gonna take this little guy from my cold dead hands. This is my jank player heart. Just to the fullest. I love this little goober. He's not good, but I love him. Okay? If anything happens to Grogu, I will kill everyone at the table and then myself. It's that's it. That's pretty much the video. Thank you all so much for watching. It seems like people really like me talking about SWU, so thanks. I appreciate it. There won't be more for a little bit because I've got enough real life stuff going on, but there's gonna be more of this. I had a lot of fun making it. I've had a lot of fun building for it. Twin Suns is a blast. I can't wait to play more of it, and the Ashes stuff looks really good, especially Sloane. Oh my god.